Hi there, I'm here with Peter Arnott, who is a writer of Serov's People, this week's play at A Play Pie to Pint. So tell us a bit about the genesis of Serov's People. Where did the idea come from?
Well, it's a very peculiar idea.
Yes.
Yeah, because one of these is 3 pictures in a portrait gallery, which then start talking to each other. Okay, so this partly comes from actually an enthusiasm about the painter Valentin Serov. I was in Moscow, and in the basement of the Tretyakov Gallery in Moscow, there are these 2 rooms full of these extraordinary portraits, just amazing portraits of a generation. It's like walking into a live Chekhov play. You know, all these people in this room are all kind of beautiful and absurd and eccentric and kind of wonderful, but kind of doomed at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think of my contemporaries as kind of beautiful, kind of weird, kind of wonderful, and kind of doomed.
Kind of doomed.
Yeah, which is I'm pessimistic that way. So basically, this is it's a kind of portrait of a generation, as it were.
Yeah.
Only it turns out that one of them is actually the painter. So it's a kind of self-portrait of himself, his best friend, and his sister, who are the 3 characters in the play.
Yeah.
And it's been fantastically directed by Stasi Schaefer, and wonderfully. I think the performances are great. Yeah. Robbie Jack is playing Charlie, Janet Fogo is playing Jean, and George Doherty is playing Robert, who's the painter, and they're all fabulous. Yeah. So it's much better than I had any right to expect.
Oh, yes. Oh no! Once again, yeah. It's a good production of a good play.
Thank you.
Is Valentin Serov? Is he a well-known painter?
In Russia he is. In Russia he is. Yeah. He's probably Ilya Repin. Have you heard of him? No. Well, Ilya Repin would be better known. He was late 19th century Russian painters. Right. It's the thing is that Russia's a world unto itself in lots of ways. So when you're there, you definitely feel that this is the only real place in the world, and everywhere else is kind of imaginary and doesn't really matter. Right. That's how Moscow feels. Which is also how New York feels, which is odd. It was odd, but there we are. So yes, yeah. But the capital cities of 2 very different planet Earths. Anyway, Serov is possibly he's one of the kind of bigger 3 or 4 Russian painters of the end of the 19th century, just before the revolution. He died in 1911, but he has this, for me anyway, he has this extraordinary fondness for the people he paints, especially the women. It has to be said, his women are amazing, and there's a portrait of his daughter, which is a girl with peaches, which is just heartbreakingly wonderful. And so I think he's a wonderful. You could mistake him maybe for somebody like Renoir. That would be the nearest thing, but Renoir's more chocolate boxy, more kind of sentimental, and Serov's looking at these people and he can see how absurd they are, but at the same time he just loves them, and it just gives me a warm fuzzy feeling, which I wanted to reproduce by writing a play about depression and suicide.
I was going to say, yeah, it's a little bit warm and fuzzy, but
well, I think it's basically the ambition of the play anyway is to look at some very serious and unpleasant things which have happened. Partly that happen to people I know, and so it comes from a real place, but it's also wanting to be in the end quite sort of warm and forgiving about things.
I think what comes across through it is the humanity of the piece really comes across, and what's amazing is that you're not scared to tackle all those big issues or put them in front of the audience without.
I think audiences are really brave. Yeah.
But there's lightness in it as well, and they absolutely got it yesterday. They were.
Well, maybe they won't today. Who knows? But it did work yesterday very well. Yeah, and I was going, oh gosh, this is actually quite good.
Yeah. So. Brilliant. And what else are you up to at the minute?
Well, I'm working with a company called Fox Motus.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
What are they up to?
they're doing a play called The Infamous Brothers Davenport.
Yes. In Inverness.
In Inverness this week. That's right. If you're watching this in Inverness, and there are still tickets left, there might not be. This is very good. We did the 3 weeks of Lyceum and a week at the Sits, and it's a show about Victorian American spiritualist magicians in the 19th century, and it's more kind of light fuzzy stuff about death and misery and child abuse.
Yeah.
It's full of laughs, but it is that's a really in a way they kind of contrast with it more, because actually, although I have to say, for the kind of buttons that one has, I mean and no real rehearsal time at all. I mean, there's lots of wonderful things about More, but luxury is not one of them.
No.
But the set looks amazing.
The set looks amazing.
So it's just these 3 paintings, and it's just great. So yeah, it's so the kind of big heavy theatrical guns of the kind of big show at the Vox Motors show, and then this at the same time is sort of quite exciting.
The two.
Yeah,
It's good. It's good to balance the two.
Yeah.
And do you have any ambitions to do anything more with this piece afterwards?
I think I'd really like to. I mean, because I think because it was very much an experiment. Which is one of the great things about Oranmore is that you can experiment. You can say, because it's a live audience who have now seen. This is the 249th play.
It is.
It is. So they'll sit through anything.
Well, that's not true.
but it's a very open audience, and because the only place you really can find out whether a play works is in front of an audience.
Of course, yes.
You can't really find out in a rehearsal room, or let alone on the typing it. I mean, it just doesn't tell you anything. But what this is telling me is I think maybe there's something in this. There's maybe something in the idea of a kind of theatrical portraiture, and and maybe and I suppose it's kind of infinitely expandable because I have about 7 or 8 people in mind who ended up being these 3, but they're still kicking around.
Yeah, they're still there.
If anyone's interested out there, yes. Well, I think it has a lot of potential actually.
Yeah.
We could maybe even Serov's people too at
the
Oranmore.
Yeah, the return of
Serov's people. The revenge. Yes.